From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ijoma Oyato.
Welcome. Tonight, federal government asks striking lecturers to go back to the classrooms and stop playing politics. House of Representatives denies approving armoured vehicle purchase for Aviation Minister, but NCAA insists approval followed due process. All Progressive Congress governors threaten to sue the federal government over alleged deductions from allocation to states. And Kenya's army chief denies looting allegation against his troops at Nairobi's mall.
On business news tonight, the Kwara State government gives out 100 million naira in loans to artisan groups.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria's Golden Eaglets come back twice from behind to snatch a draw against Sweden at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup.
Good evening, I'm Gloria Umezuki live from Abuja, and I'll bring you stories on the Supreme Court's ruling on Anambra PDP, the fight between the PDP and the Breakaway Group, and of course the pre-national conference forum in Jos, Plateau State.
We begin tonight with a direct call from the federal government to the striking university lecturers to stop playing politics and return to the classroom. This is coming from the Minister of Information and Supervising Minister of Defence, Mr. Labaran Mako, at a World Press Conference on government activities and programs in Abuja today. He insisted that the strike has lasted too long and is now disrupting the education sector, which the lecturers claim to be fighting for. He then challenged ASU to reopen the schools if they are truly interested in the development of the sector.
ASU must leave politics alone. We must return to the reality that we face. We should have sympathy on our children that we teach. What is going on is no longer in the interest of our country. It's not in the interest of our educational system, and it is killing the university system. So we need to turn a new leaf and go back to school. Open our schools, bring our children back to school so that they can recover from these 3 months of losses they have already sustained. We have done what we should do as a government. We have negotiated. Even after the first negotiation broke down, the government still negotiated at the highest level of the Vice President. If the Vice President of Nigeria will go into a negotiation with our striking teachers and appeal to them, and we agree and place additional money, which of course each time you take money you are taking from something else, and we place it at the level to pay these allowances 40 billion, and we say we can't open universities. So I think honestly we all need to appeal to ASU, and we'll continue to do so, that they should return to school and open our universities. Government is determined to continue to work with them to address the existing problems.
In the meantime, the federal government has once again given the assurance to students that the industrial action by university lecturers will be called off soon. A permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mr. McJohn Wobiala, gave the assurance at a lecture to mark the Golden Jubilee of the Nigerian Universities Commission in Abuja, adding that the government is working to resolve all contending issues.
Let me assure you and the larger Nigerian public that the federal government is very much concerned with the current situation of our publicly owned university system and is doing its best to resolve the issues involved in a very sustainable way that would avoid a repeat of this saga in a few months' time. And I can assure you that the NUC has been a significant player in the efforts to resolve these issues or this issue amicably.
Away from the ASU strike now, the fire which occurred early this morning at a section of the Warri Refinery and Petrochemical Company has been extinguished. At least 10 people were injured in the incident, believed to have been caused by a chemical explosion during routine maintenance. The fire was put out by the concerted efforts of the fire service of the Petrochemical Company and the SPDC. Confirming the incident, the acting Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, Tumini Green, explained that preparations are underway for restreaming of the affected unit. An assurance was also given that the NNPC continues to hold sufficient stock of premium motor spirit and other petroleum products to avoid panic buying. The Warri Refinery, the first Nigerian wholly owned refinery, was commissioned in 1978. It was built to process 100,000 barrels of crude oil per day. It was also essentially built to add value to some of the refinery byproducts such as propylene, rich stock and decant oil. Now it's more trouble for the Aviation Minister, Ms. Stella Odua, as she appears to have some more explaining to do. Now this is because members of the House of Representatives Committee on Aviation have denied ever approving the purchase of 2 armoured vehicles for her. During a debate in Abuja, the committee member said they did not approve the expenditure in the agency's budget. This denial is coming just as the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority is insisting that the purchase followed due process. Our correspondent Lanre Lasisi reports.
For the last few weeks, the country's aviation sector has been under focus. From the Associated Airline crash to recent controversies over the purchase of $1.6 million armored cars by the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority. The sector also caught the attention of the House of Representatives. A lawmaker brought a motion on an airline being denied landing rights in Kano State.
Worried that blocking Qatar Airlines has crippled the prospect of the North as their push for international trade and business is going backward.
It was a motion that passed without debate. An ad hoc committee was set up to look into the matter. But the controversy over the purchase of armored cars was the one that caught the attention of the lawmakers.
It will be absurd, unthinkable, and indeed unpatriotic for an agency of government to connive with its political head to incur such an expenditure simply for the comfort and safety of one public officer.
The lawmaker moved that the House Committee on Aviation investigate the matter with some particular focus.
Whether the purchase was authorized by any appropriation law. 3. Whether the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority has been complying with the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
An issue an official of the NCAA had tried to address.
These due processes involves going through the National Assembly. We have the Committee on Aviation on the House of Reps has an oversight, function on my organization, as much as the Senate House Committee on Aviation. So there is no document. If you are talking about IGR approvals and all that, yes, it must go through those processes.
This was a response the lawmakers disagreed with.
Nigerians know that where the leakage is coming from, not the National Assembly, because it's a committee. We are mindful of what Nigerians need. We are mindful of what the aviation industry needs. We are mindful of the regulatory needs. So we approve what we think is supposed to be used by NCA, not armored vehicles.
The House Committee on Aviation has been mandated to conclude its investigation within 1 week. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
Well, governors of the All Progressives Congress may be heading to court to ask the federal government to explain the several deductions from their federal allocations. Speaking to journalists after a meeting of the governors in Abuja, Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti, who's also the chairman of the forum, said that some states in the last few months have had about 40% of their allocations deducted. He described the deductions as illegal and that every constitutional means will be explored to ensure that the deductions are stopped. Aside from Governor Fayemi, other governors who attended the meeting include Rauf Eregbeshola of Osun State, Rocha Sokorocha of Imo, Abiola Ajumobi of Oyo, Ibrahim Gaidam of Yobe, and the Deputy Governor of Borno, Umar Mustafa.
We continue to insist that we condemn the illegal and unconstitutional deductions. Averagely, all of our states lost 40% of our normal earnings in the last 2 to 3 months from the Federal Allocations Committee, and we believe that this is not defensible in any way. We know that the benchmark that the National Assembly agreed for the budget 2013 is still very, very realistic, because at no time throughout this year, and we're now in October, as oil sold for anything less than $105 per barrel. In fact, more often than not, oil has sold for $110 per barrel. So we see no basis for the kind of incomplete allocations to the states in this regard. And we have decided to take appropriate constitutional measures in order to tackle this flagrant abuse of the Constitution of Nigeria and the Appropriation Act, particularly of the National Assembly.
To security matters now, the Nigerian army has affirmed that they are winning the war against the insurgents. The Director of Army Public Relations, Brigadier General Ibrahim Attahiru, told the press conference in Abuja that the Nigerian army's fight against terrorism has yielded positive results in dismantling what's left of the militants. According to Brigadier General Attahiru, in the last few days, the military has foiled several attacks, reduced the impact of others, and killed a number of the insurgents.